Have you ever thought to yourself how cool it would be to watch Stranger Things in theaters up on the big screen with all the other fans in the same room? Because I can't help but feel like this show has had such a cultural impact and has meant so much to so many people that I would love to watch season 5 for the very first time in theaters alongside everyone else who loves the show. And besides other fans talking about this, the Duffer Brothers themselves have also been surprisingly very vocal about this for years now, saying that they would love to release Stranger Things in theaters. And just recently, we can see how serious they feel about this. With a show as big, dramatic, and over the top as Stranger Things, I can only imagine how much more immersive it would feel to watch on a massive 60-foot screen. And one of my favorite things about watching cult classics or big dramatic things like this is being in the same room as the audience, hearing the gasps when someone dies, hearing the excitement when the villain is defeated, hearing absolutely nothing on the most anxiety-inducing build-ups. I would love so much to watch Stranger Things Season 5 in theaters beside everyone else for the very first time. But how realistic is this dream? Can the creators of the show itself make that happen? Or by some miracle were you one of the couple hundred people that actually saw Stranger Things in theaters the one time they made an exception? Yeah, apparently back in 2022, after Season 4 released in July, a couple months later on Stranger Things Day, November 6th, they showed Volume 2, just episodes 8 and 9 in select theaters around the country. Everybody came out and dressed up as their favorite characters and got to sit together for over 3 hours to watch the ending of the biggest season yet. For just one day, you could watch Stranger Things in theater. Hopefully that wasn't the last time this will happen, because Season 5's finale seems to be the saddest, happiest, biggest build-up that anyone is talking about, and seeing that in person with a packed theater would be so crazy. Plus, with such a big show as this coming to an end, I think it would only be fitting to celebrate everything about Stranger Things by putting the finale episode in theaters as a celebration of 10 years of production. What a better send-off than to be able to experience and celebrate this end of an era in person with everyone else who's fallen in love with the show. The Duffer Brothers have always voiced their interest in showing Stranger Things in theaters and have talked about how the only time they get to watch it in theaters is at the premiere, when they do the red carpet and show off the first episode early. And they always say that this is their favorite. And apparently when Season 4 came around, they said that it was actually Netflix's idea to have them put Volume 2 in theaters. But even just those last 2 episodes had a 220-minute runtime. That is a tad long for a straight theater watch. I mean, if you could figure out a way to do it with breaks or something so you're comfortable, it would be crazy to watch the entirety of Season 4, all 13 hours in theaters. But this time, with Season 5, it seems like things will be different. Not only is there going to be one less episode this season, but it sounds like the Duffer Brothers are hoping on something closer to 10 hours of runtime, not 13. And when they talk about the finale, they say that they know there will be so many endings, just one after another, to wrap up the 20 different storylines before the episode ends. I mean, they need to give closure to Lucas and Max after she wakes up. They need to go on their movie date. Hopper and Joyce need some closure and to finally go on their date at Enzo's if it's still standing after all of this. Mike and Eleven will definitely have some time spent on them, and we need to see what happens with the Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve storyline. We also need to see what the town and the rest of the world and the military thinks about all these paranormal happenings. We need closure on what happens to the Upside Down and the Mind Flayer after Vecna's defeated. Will and Dustin both need some closure as well, and now Robin and possibly Vicky will get wrapped up. The OG kids group, all 4 of the original boys, will need to have some kind of special group moment to end the season on, and I'm sure Hop and Elle need a little father-daughter moment as well, and possibly Joyce and her boys. I mean, there's so many things to give closure to, and you saw how fast they did this in Season 4. They kinda just left a lot of it up to you to fill in the blanks. In Russia, Yuri and Dmitri were going back and forth as Dmitri tries to convince Yuri to get himself together and go pick up Joyce and Hopper, and they just leave us, unsure of what's happening, for an hour and a half until Vecna is defeated, and the only closure we get is them smiling at us in the chopper over the prison. We don't know if Dmitri ever leaves and gets to see his daughter again. We don't know what happens to Yuri after. So Season 5 might do the exact same thing for all of the new characters they introduce. The Season 4 finale is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And after Vecna is defeated, they spend 30 minutes trying to tie up all the loose ends, and honestly, they went through everything really quickly. Some moments that should have felt bigger than they did, like Hopper and Elle's reunion. Keep in mind, the last time she saw him, before he returns from Russia in Season 4, was at the very beginning of the finale episode of Season 3. Yes, this was the last time that they were together. It's crazy, I know, but they did the whole death fake out, and it was super emotional for Eleven, and then she goes through all of of season 4 reliving childhood trauma and reuniting with her other father figure who tested on her and locked her up her whole life. Not to mention having to deal with Angela, she goes through all of this. Hopper goes through the entire Russian gulag, and then their reunion is barely anything at all. A minute and a half that is kind of calm and surprisingly underwhelming for everything they just went through. They hug and talk about each other's hair, and then they have to move on to the next scene. And I can't help but worry that the end of season 5 they're going to have even more to wrap up, and with less time it seems. The Duffers say that they want to just make a very long last episode so that they can have the finale battle in it, and then also include all of the season's wrap-up and goodbyes versus putting them in 2 separate episodes. But even if the finale episode is 2 hours long, it's hard to believe that the end won't feel rushed. I think their decision to shorten the runtime was made to have less work for themselves, as they already have been doing so much just to film everything they have, and adding another 2 to 3 hours of runtime onto this season might make them feel like they're spreading themselves a little thin. If they think they can put everything they need to in 10 hours, they'd probably rather just lock in and focus on making it the best 10 hours that they can. But the reason that they couldn't put season 4's finale episodes in theaters for the premiere was because, if you remember, even after Volume 1 came out, they were still editing and finalizing Volume 2, and there was just 1 month left for them to have it ready for release. And with theater releases, you can't really wait until the last minute like that. The DCP, or digital cinema package, typically needs to be ready and distributed with more time before the release, and just because of logistics and how it worked out, they weren't able to make that happen. So instead, they chose to still give the fans a theater release as a little Stranger Things Day celebration, and in some major cities like New York, San Francisco, and Chicago, you could dress up if you wanted to and go experience it in theaters with the true Atmos sound systems with all the other fans. But if you remember, every time they give us a production update on season 5, they've said that this time they're actually ahead of schedule, which might come back around later in our favor. And the Duffers have said that they're only going to keep bothering Netflix about releasing Stranger Things in theaters. And with the finale being released by itself and probably being close to 2 hours long, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up putting this in theaters. I feel like so many people want to see this happen, and at the end of the day, it's up to Netflix. If the production timeline is on schedule and they have enough time to send out the DCP, there's a good chance that the first thing you do in 2026 could be watching the Stranger Things finale in theaters. I mean, even in a recent interview, Sadie Sink just mentioned how much she wants them to release Stranger Things in theaters.
I do hope they show like the last episode or 2 on the big screen so we can see it.
Me too, right?
I mean, I can only imagine the last couple seasons, it's just the production value goes up and up, and it's film
insane.
Quality. So
they should at least do like some screenings of it or something.
Yes.
Come on. It's been 10 years.
I mean, it really does seem like common sense for how big this franchise is, and with the recent news of the Duffer Brothers deciding to leave Netflix and sign a 4-year deal with Paramount to make movies or shows, I thought it by some chance might have to do with them wanting to put something in physical theaters, and Netflix is just not able to do that. I mean, Netflix is a streaming service. Their whole business model caters to people watching things at home. And while Paramount now does have their own streaming platform for their media to live on, they are more of a traditional media company putting their movies in theaters. And the Duffer Brothers have talked about how much this means to them, so it only seems logical that they would be interested in working with someone that would show their next work in theaters. But what does all this mean for Stranger Things? The deal basically lets them continue working on Stranger Things with Netflix and helping them with the already established spin-offs and things they're working on, but everything moving forward will be through Paramount. So this doesn't necessarily affect Stranger Things and them working with Netflix, but they will be working with Paramount to get their next work out, which is pretty exciting. Stranger Things is so cinematic on every level that I think that would be more enjoyable to watch in theaters than a lot of the other cheap fast movies that are being pushed out right now. But I'm also really excited to see their next project. I know they must have so many ideas for projects outside of Stranger Things that they've just been saving up to flesh out over all these years, and even though 4 years is kind of a short time for even a movie to start as an idea and get greenlit and go through production and be finished, I feel like they just have so much that they already want to bring to life. I mean, part of the reason they've said that they love Netflix and their time working with them is because they're a fairly new company with no existing IP, which means that Netflix was interested in creating some of their own new IP, and were happy to take a chance with them on Stranger Things when a lot of other studios told them no. It's crazy to see all of this slowly come to an end. We thankfully have their anthology Stranger Things series to look forward to. If you're interested, maybe we'll do a video going over that and the new concept that was just recently released. We also are finally in the end stretch before season 5 is released. We just passed the 100-day mark on the countdown, which I am very excited about, and we also have Netflix's Geeked Week coming up very soon. Last year, their Geeked Week was in September, the year before it was in November, but the year before that, it was all the way back in June, a week or two after season 4's Volume 1 came out. So while it is expected to be in September with the fan casting they're looking for, similar to the last event they had, technically they could wait until late November if they wanted. And last year they announced it a full 6 weeks before it took place, which means that even if they announced it today, it might not happen until mid-October. But like I said, since they're already looking for fans for a secret event, there's a good chance that this is Geeked Week, and since Wednesday has passed, Squid Game is over, Stranger Things is going to be massive this year. Of course, they'll save the very best for the end of the event, like they always do, but there will be a very high chance that this is when they're dropping the official first trailer. If it's halfway into September, that's only 3 months left until Volume 1 drops, which is really exciting. So much to stay tuned for, so make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.